Hello to YouTube as well. We are getting started with our Isaac run. By which I mean Eden run. By... what? My keyboard isn't working? What the... There we go. That was weird. I was like, why is my escape and spacebar item... well, key, not item. We started with Cricket's head. That's very good. And my haircut. Bad HP though. Really, really good damage. 7.81. 3GYE 1S6A is the seed. Alright, as long as we can survive, this will be good. Alexa, work hard, play hard. Okay, Sora, stop whining. I know she didn't whine, but I'm just trying to preempt it. It's amazing how much she's following after how Loki acted for CR. Because when Loki started whining for attention at what, like a year and a half to 2 years old as well? Sora's about to be a year and a half. Oh, we started with Counterfeit Penny as well. Evil Vice President's favourite trinket. Mom's bra is irrelevant, but we're taking it for progress towards the mom transformation. And that's child leash, I think. Hello Skuma, hello everyone else who's just filtering in. I hope you had a good weekend. If you weren't here on the streams or whatever. But yeah, there was an American holiday over the weekend, wasn't there? Yes, hello Trouble, I see you. What? She stared at me until I went to give her a pet and then she ran away. Oh, it's a double floor. That's annoying. It was Remembrance Day. I forgot. Angry Fly is not exactly what I was looking for here. There was an English bank holiday. There wasn't an actual holiday on Monday. Which is just one of the many days that shops and banks down in England take the day off for no reason. Now, do I free this card or do I wait and try and look for a tinted rock? You're addicted to Crusader Kings 2. Have you considered playing a game that was made in the last 10 years? And doesn't just exist to funnel DLC? Ooh. Hello Supernova. And Luke. So chat, before I give you the choice of what to talk about, I want to pick something for myself because otherwise I'll forget. Although first of all, thank you Cubian91 for 6 months with a tier 1 sub. Welcome back. Does Angry Fly orbits enemies? Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So, as you may have heard before my day off, I was attempting a sultana and walnut tea loaf that's made entirely in the microwave. This is from a recipe book from the 80s. My mother used to make it. I remember making it. I liked it. I was like, I can do that. I've got a microwave. Up until recently, that's basically what made 90% of my food. I posted a picture on Twitter just before the stream started. I probably should have put a picture from the magazine next to it to show you how it's supposed to look, because it's not supposed to look like it looked. An attempt was made. To be fair, it tastes nice, but it has a consistency of kind of like a... it looks like a biscotti, but it isn't as hard as the biscotti. It is harder than it should be though. It's supposed to be a nice soft cake you have with tea. But it came across more like a biscotti to me. Which, if you aren't aware, is a twice baked biscuit that you traditionally have with coffee. So I was like, I followed the recipe. Did I maybe miss a ingredient when I copied it out of the recipe book into, like, I just write it out on paper for myself. So I went, found the recipe book, which is next to me, and I'm like, no, I copied everything. I did every ingredient. So I'm like, what went wrong? What went wrong? And my first thought was that for whatever reason, when you put the mixture in the microwave, you are supposed to turn a saucer upside down and then put the bread loaf tin that the mixture is in on top of the upside down saucer in the microwave. I don't know why. I have no idea why you're supposed to do that. Maybe it helps aerate it more or something. But it said to do that, and I did do that, but then I found that it wasn't it wasn't spinning correctly in the microwave, it was getting caught, so I had to take the saucer out. So my first inclination was, oh, by doing that I've messed something up. Upon thinking about it a little bit more though, I realised what I did. And it was user error. Paralysis. I'm not going to be able to take anything here. I wouldn't have wanted void anyway. I'm going to quickly check the shop for a spirit heart. So, as part of the recipe, what you're supposed to do is you take the sultanas that you're to use for the recipe, you put them in, I forget how much, but say like 150ml or 175ml of boiling water, and then you mix in a little bit of bicarbonate of soda. And then you let it soak for 10 minutes before you start cooking, and that's so that the sultanas plump up. And I did that. However, I misconstrued or added an extra step that was not in the recipe. When the sultanas were ready to put into the mixture that you're preparing while they're sitting for 10 minutes in the bicarb and boiling water, I sieved out the water before adding the sultanas to the mixture, and what I was meant to do was add the boiling water with bicarbonate of soda along with those sultanas into the mix. So that is why it turned out the way it did. The annoying thing is, my mother did say to me, it's been a while since I've made this, but if I remember rightly, the mixture is really runny. And yet when I was doing the mixture, I was like, this is like cake batter. This isn't runny at all. What was she talking about? It didn't have 175ml of water in it. So that's why it wasn't runny. I still have enough ingredients that I can try again later this week. I'm going to give it a stab probably towards the end of the week to space it out a little bit. But yeah, at least I spotted what I did wrong eventually. Like, I must admit, I don't know what bicarbonate of soda is. I know what baking powder is, I know what salt is, but this is the first recipe I've had that's needed bicarbonate of soda, because traditionally you don't put it in cakes and stuff. It's for like pancakes and things, isn't it? It's not baking soda, it's different. Because I have a tub of baking soda and it's not the same thing. Instructions unclear, ate the microwave. Any of you ever had a microwave fail on you? One of my old ones did, and it scared the shit out of me when it did. Bicarbonate adds air to the mixture, which in turn would make it more cake-like and fluffy, hence why mine turned out like a goddamn biscuit. Yeah, that adds further strength to my inclination that, well, I know for a fact I missed that step. I just assumed that maybe it was kind of like, it wasn't a nice tasting thing, so that's why you sieve out the sultanas afterwards before putting them in the mixture. But you know what they say about assumptions? They did not say sieve the water and then add the sultanas, it just said add the sultana mixture. And it was the mixture bit that I missed. Baking soda and bicarbonate of soda are the same thing. Why are they sold separately by the same company then? Doesn't make any sense. Is bicarbonate of soda like the old-fashioned word for baking soda? To make money? Oh, bicarbonate of soda is the old-fashioned word for it. I'm gonna have words with my mother. I don't think she realizes that. Because when I was at the supermarket, she was like, "Did you buy bicarbonate of soda?" And I found some and I bought it. I did remember thinking to myself, "Oh, this looks very similar to baking soda," when I was putting it in. Baking soda is a modern American name. It's weird because I think the brand I bought was like German. Different than baking powder, which is baking soda with an acid added. Oh, either way, I have a bottle of both now. Or not a bottle, a tub, whatever it is. A little container full. I'm annoyed that I didn't get it right. It was a simple oversight of missing a single word that threw it off, and I ended up with a biscuit as a result. A relatively nice tasting biscuit, but a biscuit nonetheless. How's this run going? I'm asking chat because I haven't been paying attention at all. We picked up Dead Tooth, so we've got the halitosis effect, so I barely remember that happening. Bicarbonate of soda is in Hammer toothpaste, or Arm & Hammer. So hang on, this gives us... I don't remember how many... Can I take this? Did Dead Tooth give us... I can't remember, I'm not going to risk it. I think Dolly gives you some HP. We don't have enough money to make use of that. I think we'll just go. It does taste good, but it doesn't have the consistency, color, or anything else that it's supposed to. And I was wondering just why it didn't raise as much as it was supposed to either. Also, greaseproof paper, trying to get that to stay in a lined baking tin is a pain in the arse. Which again, oh god, we might actually be in a spot of bother in here. I think if it was more of a proper wet mixture, it probably would have made a difference to the greaseproof paper not defining the end shape as much as it did. But yeah, greaseproof paper is annoying. So that was a baking experiment that failed today, incidentally. I couldn't do it on my day off because I needed a microwave safe loaf tin. I didn't have one. My mother didn't get me one to me until it was like 5 at night. I was like, I'm not going to try and bake at 5 at night. I'll do it tomorrow. I was really hoping he would drop his HP, and of course he didn't. But that was really the only standout thing of my day off. A failed baking experimentation. Was that worth it? Who knows? I was very pleased to see that today the newest Bat Box for the Batman miniature game arrived, because it's not meant to be out yet. Night Models sent it. That is a very, very large host. Night Models sent it out very early. It's due out on June 1st. And well, YouTube will probably be seeing this after June 1st, in fact for sure, because I uploaded June 1st videos today. Oh, right. But they continue to be kind of like lovably incompetent. It's like there's errors in the rule books and weird grammar and stuff. So for the Teen Titans box, they left the 350 rep thing on the box being like, hey, if you buy this box, you'll have everything you need to play a standard sized game of the Batman miniature game. That shouldn't be on there because the Teen Titan box is not a crew, but it's a team. And the models in the box come to, I put it on Twitter, I forgot now, was it 565 rep? We might have to like do a quick restart here because we're just getting given no HP. So you can't play it in a normal game. They're also all free agents. Not to get too deep into how the rules of the game work, so you definitely couldn't run them as anything normal. Ooh, okay, that was interesting. Dark Bum, you could be the savior I don't deserve but needed, or whatever that quote is. Feed me. Or I feed you, then you feed me. So they messed up a little bit. I've assembled the models already, and thankfully there was no like bad flashing or other crappy stuff that can happen with resin this time. Like Wonder Girl has her lasso of persuasion. It's not the same as the lasso. I feel like I'm saying that weird. Lasso of truth that Wonder Woman has. She has one that like mind controls people, and that's a thin bit of resin. And Night Models do not have super great quality resin, so stuff like that is usually the first thing to break. Even if you just take it off the extra resin bits it's attached to, like that in itself is dangerous. And Green Arrow's bow was a bloody nightmare. He's the hero the basement needs. That's a good way to put it. What is with that underbite? What are you trying to say? You trying to say I'm ugly? Don't make me vibrate my eyes at you, because I'll do it. So chat, what else will we talk about? Because if we don't find something else, I'm going to talk about Batman more. It is the Rotten Tooth that's doing it. I was playing into the bit of making fun of how I look. The Monster Hunter moves. That's more like a group discussion topic, I feel. Plus, it's better if we wait until a few more of the videos are out. Nice. That candle did work. Oh, now things are starting to pick up. Excellent. We had our item room. We've looked in our shop. Alright. You vote that we discuss anime titties. Honestly, it might be a better idea just to talk about Batman, given that when we were playing Batman last, we ended up having an overly deep conversation about content creation and how badly things are going. How about anime Batman nips? No. I was trying to use halitosis like we have a cupid ball, we have a ball of bandages, but still. Too hot for Twitch. Now, speaking of night models as being lovingly incompetent, Twitch is kind of like that way as well. Like they create this app, program, whatever, Twitch sings. It's like streams will love this. And it's true. But they don't like stop and think about how people will misuse it. So if you're doing that Twitch sings thing and someone subs to you, their Twitch avatar appears on the screen. And then streamers are getting banned because people are putting like porn as their profile and subbing during Twitch sings. It's like, you run this platform, do you not realize what trolls do here? And why the hell are you blaming the streamer rather than the prick who did it? It just makes no sense to me. Night models have been buggering up your mate's Harry Potter orders recently. He deserves it for buying Harry Potter models. It's a punishment befitting the crime. Because that's not even, that's one step beyond people having like text-to-speech donations on and people getting around the swear filter or racist filter by creatively writing certain words. This is something Twitch built from the ground up for their streaming platform. And then they're going, well yeah, but don't use it like that. And then punishing the streamers when they should be punishing themselves, honestly. There will always be trolls on this site, there will always be assholes. You have to presume that they will try and find ways to get streamers in trouble because it seems so incredibly easy to get streamers in trouble with Twitch now. Yeah, ban Twitch from Twitch. Eat this. Give heart. Why does it seem like my... Oh, because we got Magic Mush. I was like, why does it seem like my head is larger? It's because it is. Look up. It's a YouTube conspiracy while they're whispering in Twitch's ear. Like worm tongue. They're just making them make bad decisions. And someone mentioned it on Sunday. I can't remember who it was. They were asking me like, what do you think of the Artifact streams? And I had no idea what had been going on in the Artifact streams, but I've been reading about it on my day off and it was very, very funny. If anyone isn't aware, Artifact is a game that Valve made that failed because it's bad. And nobody has been playing it, nobody is watching it on Twitch, so people started just like live streaming movies on Twitch, or porn, or animes, or at one point it was mostly just like ayayaya. and they were just posting it in the artifact section, and nobody reported because nobody was going to that section to look at streams because nobody cares about artifact. And they got away with it for a while, like longer than you would think. They got away with it. But it's quite amazing, not only is there a game like that dead on Twitch, but it's a game made by Valve. So wow, they really balls that one up. Artifact was like their Hearthstone ripoff, but they make you play like 3 games at once. Overly convoluted, not fun, not respected, very bad. Also very microtransaction compliant, let's say. There's no shop, so... Wait, no, there's one more shop. Nah, I'll just hold on for the next shop. Secret room is probably to the left here. Never mind. Also, hang on, there's a heart over here, and Dark Bum has not consumed it. Consume. Well, I didn't mean put it there. Made me spend a key. Yeah, they really missed the ball with that one. It's the same as like everybody falling over themselves to do a battle royale when battle royales are kind of not as popular at the moment. Hello, Fallen. I did see the rumours about Ubisoft offering a premium service, yes. It's not something I would ever partake in. Like, we're so close to E3 now. Oh. Well, I guess that's what I get for ignoring so many deals. I don't remember what the Eucharist does. Is it permanent angel deals? I do have a blue cross on my face. I'm still hoping to be surprised at stuff coming out of E3. I know, I think, 4 days, 5 days, Nintendo's just doing a direct that's like 15 minutes of Sword and Moon and Gun. No, Sword and Shield and Gun gameplay. Or whatever. Like, why spend the money to do a big on-stage presentation of what's to come when we can just throw together a 15-minute live stream and everyone will talk about it for a month? I have never particularly been into the Castlevania games, so Bloodstained doesn't hold any particular great value or interest to me. If it turns out to be good, I'll happily play it. But I'm not, like, hyped for it or anything, though. I am interested in that, I was going to call it Inglorious Bastards, that's not what it's called. Void Bastards, is that the one? I'm interested in that. I've been pursuing a review copy and have not had an answer, sadly, but as long as the price is right, I'll probably buy it and try it. It's out tomorrow, right? We'll probably try it tomorrow. One way or the other, unless they decide to price it ridiculously high just because they managed to get the Stanley Parable in the rare. Although he can't be that expensive if a mod, or fan mod for this game was able to get him. Also, his version of the intro is the best version of the intro, in case anyone is curious. Even the way he says Isaac is like how he says Stanley. Isaac? Nintendo can just start a stream and say hi, then end it, and people would do their usual Nintendo 1 E3. Yes. Yes, they would. It's a great shame, because it doesn't encourage them to do better. Same with Hideo Kojima and Miyazaki. They'll never improve because they receive a incongruent amount of praise for the shit they churn out right now. Why did it have to be this room? Also, that was lucky. Whoop. 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 Oh, not going back that way. Nobody goes down that road. That's the road where 5 children were beaten to death by blue spinny things that fly at you. Oh, you know what else? I totally did have other things to talk about. What am I sitting here thinking, like, I've got to think of something quicker, I'm going to have to talk about Batman. I watched a bunch of stuff on Netflix. Why have I not talked about that yet when we're this deep into a run already? That's usually my thing. I believe I left off Sunday's stream by mentioning I was going to watch the program on Netflix about people who are Instagram famous. I think it's called Insta Famous. It's like 20, 15-minute long episodes, and I couldn't get through them because I hated everyone in it. It didn't help that the very first one they started with is someone who got very, very famous on Instagram by stealing other people's memes and posting them. And then he's acting like he's created some kind of dynamic revolution, that's the word I was looking for. And that he has a sixth sense for knowing what memes are good. And everything he said just made me want to punch him. Influencers equal the worst people. Now, to be fair, Cookies and Cream was here on Sunday apparently gloating about becoming very big on Instagram. If it's anything like the people who were shown in this program, then I'm no longer envious. Because they were all pricks in some degree or another. Like, there was a pair of twins that seemed like they were good artists, but they made it big on Instagram by painting each other's boobs. So that's just all they do now. They paint boobs. But yeah, some guy was like... The level at which he talked about his success, when his success was just stealing other people's memes, it made me angry, even though I don't particularly get into meme culture. Like, how can you talk like you're doing something of value when you're stealing other people's shit posts? And it just so happens you were one of the first people to do it on that platform, so people now just go to you for the shit memes. So yeah, couldn't get through that even though episodes were only 15 minutes. There was one of them that wasn't bad, where like he just started feeding deer outside his house and the deer weren't scared of him, so he just posted about feeding deer. That seemed fine, but yeah, the rest of them were assholes. So that was a big no. I already talked about the Hoarder documentary. What was the other thing I know I wanted to talk about the Keepers, but I'm sure there was a third thing. I'm just trying to remember what it was. Oh, there was a bomb. I was looking at chat. Ooh, 2 good choices. I'll just take the wafer because it's the safest choice. I guess we could do Mega Satan if I fought both these, but I don't really want to do Mega Satan, so no. Gordon Ramsay is safe. I already mentioned that they took away the 2 seasons of Hell's Kitchen that were on Netflix, right? Because I wanted to rewatch them to get angry at them again. Oh, that's bugging me. What else did I watch? Oh, I remember now. It's called Emo Genius. And the best way to describe it to someone who's around my age group is that it's Catchphrase for millennials. So you have to guess, like, people, games, places, events, based on groupings of emojis. So for example, the setup to one of them was... someone texts someone and says, "Hey, I thought we were meeting up last night, what happened?" And then the person sends back a picture of a treasure chest and a picture of an old-fashioned telephone. What do you think that means? I'll give you like 10 seconds to work it out. Butt dial? Nope. Close though. There you go, you got it. Booty call. What's another word for treasure? Booty. Telephone call. They were having a booty call, so they couldn't doing? What the hell is this? So it's that kind of shit. As I say, it's catchphrase for a new generation. And that did make me look up, it's all over YouTube incidentally, because I checked it's still there, a very famous catchphrase clip where the big puzzle looked very, very lewd, and every time they got a new square of it to try and guess, it didn't make it any better. It's very funny. Just go to YouTube and type in catchphrase snake charmer and watch the clip. Also, if you do go and watch it, watch the blue player contestant, because she does not understand why it's funny. So part of the fun is watching her pretend to laugh with everyone else, because she just does not get why they find it funny. Yeah, I remember that when it was live on television. I loved Catchphrase. Also, they brought back Catchphrase like many, many years later, and the only reason I remember it is because the new presenter they got, because the old one died, the new presenter they got in his very first taping of an episode, he fell down the audience stairs and broke his leg, so for the rest of the first few episodes of the season, he was in a cast. Yes, I love two forms of Catchphrase. Reinhardt was not my first, even if he was my best. There you go, Chris B linked it. Oh, well, a room so rare I got it twice on the same floor. Except this one's a much harder version. Before I move on to the new topic, I'll wait like a minute and a half for people to watch the clip of Snake Charmer. Like, Catchphrase was just a good concept because it was a real puzzle game show. Like, you had to know phrases and things, and there was visual clues and hints. And it was a really good concept. The Emo Genius version on Netflix, because it's just using emojis, is far stupider. There's also way too much talking to contestants. Not enough emote guessing. They're also all incredibly irritating contestants as well, because they're millennials. But if you want something similar to Catchphrase, that's the closest you're going to get these days, unfortunately. That is glorious. What was poor Mr. Chips doing to that snake? See, that's how much Catchphrase I watched. I remember that the mascot for the show was called Mr. Chips. I love that he's like, quickly get another square, and then they get one, and then it's just the snake bobbing his head, and it just makes it look even worse. It's wonderful. Because it stops looking like he's just jacking himself off to making it look like he's jacking the snake, and it's just absolutely wonderful television. Wait, Catchphrase is actually still going on these days? Well, I don't watch terrestrial television, so I'll have to settle for a shitty American version of it for millennials. Although I noticed that the host of it is the person who hosted that Sugar Rush program I watched that was also produced by Netflix. Although weirdly in that he didn't wear glasses, and for some reason he wears ridiculously ostentatious glasses in this, and I wonder if that was like a design choice to appeal to millennials more or something. It's very strange. Oops, that's a terrible dodge. It's a very good also like try not to laugh clip, I think. But anyway, now that I've helped you all laugh by showing you that clip, I'd like to talk to you about something far, far darker and horrible and depressing, and it's called The Keepers. The last good real-life crime documentary on Netflix I hadn't watched yet. Ooh. Oh, didn't the matriarch end my last run? Am I imagining that? Because it's a totally fair and balanced boss. And definitely not half-assed. I'll get onto the subject in a second here. This is a boss where I have to focus. See, I didn't even sentence correctly. Alright, anyway. Set up to what the Keepers is about. Oh, actually, first of all, in terms of, like, watching it, it's more interesting than the staircase. It's not as riveting as Evil Genius. It's definitely the most depressing, and it's probably also the one that would make you the most angry. So anyway, the setup is, it's about a nun who taught at a school run by nuns, and then she went into public school and also taught public school. And her name was Sister Kathy Sesnick. I remember because they say it so often. And she lived off-site with another nun in an apartment block. One night she goes out to buy her sister an engagement present and is not seen again for a month. And her body is found. So when you, like, the first episode is just like, here's how Kathy Sesnick died. Should not have ate that Emperor card. Whoops. So she's found dead, but the twist part is, she's found a month later, quite far away from where she was presumably taken. And yet, on the same night she went missing, her mud-covered car was parked across the street from her apartment, but parked wrong ways. Like, you know how if you pull a car into park against the side of the road, I'm doing it with my hand even though you can't see it. Imagine it's turned the other way. It's parked like that across the road from her apartment for no apparent reason. And that's all they saw of her for a month until her body's found a month later. So you watch that and you think, okay, so that's what this is about. It's about who killed this nun. That's not really what it's about. That's the setup. The second episode of the documentary is what it's actually about, which is the reason she was probably killed. And the reason she was probably killed is because of two young ladies that were her students, that you meet them both kind of independently. Eventually they meet up though. So anyway, these two young ladies, something very bad was happening to them at the school that they were students at. And Sister Kathy had kind of worked out what it was and had taken one of the girls aside and said to them, is there anything you'd like to tell me? And then the now grown woman in her 50s, I think, was saying like, I can't tell you. So then Sister Kathy was like, okay, how about I guess and you just nod or shake your head? And she was like, okay, I'll do that. And then she said, well, I can't remember what his title is, but it was like, has the priest, or has Father, what was his name again? They say that so many times as well. Father, I think it's Father Maskell. She said to the student, has Father Maskell ever done anything to you that you didn't like? And she nodded. And then she said, was it anything of a sexual nature? And she nodded. So Sister Kathy said to this girl, go have a good summer. When you come back, this will all be sorted. When the girl came back after summer, Sister Kathy wasn't at the school anymore. And not long after, she disappeared and was murdered. So as it turns out, the father who ran the school that was operated by nuns was sexually abusing at least 20 of the students and bringing in people from the outside to also molest them. And the students trusted Sister Kathy with this information because she was surprisingly young for a nun compared to the rest of them. I think she was in her 20s, like early 20s. And in telling her, she probably approached the people responsible, was moved either by the people responsible or the church itself, and then was going to go one step beyond and presumably squeal to the police, and somebody had to take matters into their own hands. There's no, you never get the answer of what truly happened to her. It's just there's two people who sort of admit to it, but it's mostly just we didn't mean to kill her, but they struck her so hard that her skull caved in. It is exceptionally difficult to watch, especially when, you know, hearing about the things that happened. Like, one woman in particular is exceptionally graphic with what happened to her. That's a bit late for duality. And she's very, very matter-of-fact about it, but ever so often it catches her what she's saying and she just turns into like a horrible broken mess. It's very, very difficult to watch. How do you actually accidentally cave in someone's skull? You hit them really hard when they're about to go to the police. But believe it or not, that's not the part that you'll get angriest about. The part you'll get angriest about is how much power the Catholic Church has, and very specifically the Catholic Church in Baltimore, which is where this is set. The priest who was molesting the kid's brother was a cop in the Baltimore police. The Catholics hold a lot of power in Baltimore. They get to basically decide what rules come into play and what powers courts have. If they find they have a paedophile priest, they don't have them arrested, they move them. And then if they persist, they put them in a special priest hospital and then just kind of let them out. Anyone who tries to sue them, they have very high-powered lawyers that makes it not happen. And towards the end of the documentary, there's someone like totally independent of the dude who was doing this. Oh, thank you for 25 months in a row, Respawn. Sorry, 4 months in a row, 25 months total. Never moved to Baltimore. Well, that's also the place that has that police force that's very racist to black people. So that might also have something to do with it, honestly, after watching this documentary. What was I saying? Oh yeah, someone totally independent of the Father Masco stuff. He is, or was, because I think this documentary was made in 2015. He was trying to appeal to have the statute of limitations increased for child abuse cases. I don't know if it's a Baltimore specific thing or America specific thing, but it's 25 years. So what that means is if 25 years has passed, charges cannot be brought. And that's how Father Masco gets out of doing jail time. Because two of the students actually they bravely come forwards, but it's been more than 25 years, so they get him off on that, and also enough pseudoscience that repressed memories aren't real. Basically just saying, oh, they probably are just making this up, even though like 30 people come forward and say, yeah, he molested me. Shit. So anyway, he's campaigning to get the statute of limitations on child abuse increased from, I don't know to what, but higher than 25 years. Because repressed memories can take a long time to surface, and usually only surface to people over the age of 40, as it turns out. And he specifically says, well, it doesn't even get to a vote, and he says to the camera, like, the reason it never gets to a vote is because if it got to a vote, it would pass. And the reason it doesn't get to a vote is because the Catholic Church told people who decide whether it goes to a vote that it should never go to a vote. And he is actually like, he's confused as to why the church is fighting him so much. Like he's saying, I just want to help people who've been abused, but for some reason the church seem to think I'm after them. And you know why it is, it's because Catholic priests have been diddling kids. So it's a very sickening situation. There's also, they find a guy in the final episode of the documentary who was also abused by the priest in question. And his mother, like he went to his mother about it, his mother raised hell with the church. The church took the priest out of the whatever church he was serving in and moved him to the school where he would later go on to molest 30 plus or 25 plus of the students. Baltimore is a bad place. It certainly seems like it. The only like modicum of goodness that comes out of it is one of the abuse victims goes on to be a lawyer. Like they train to be a lawyer in their 40s, and she handles discrimination cases in Baltimore. Like she described one where a black kid standing on a street corner was arrested for possession of a Class A drug, and the only thing he had on him in his pockets was pennies or cents, I guess. So she specifically trained to be a lawyer to fight shit like that, because she experienced injustice and wanted to do something about it. Definitely not a light watch, but it is. I think it's an important watch. I will admit that some of the recounting of, well, she's known as Jane Doe, one of the two students that, well, the two students that eventually tried to sue the priest for molesting them to keep them safe. They were given the names Jane Doe and Jane Roe during the court case. So most of it focuses on Jane Doe recounting her story. She has two parts of her story which sound exceptionally unbelievable, but it's corroborated by how many other people were molested. But she has two stories where it really is like, are you sure this is a real memory? Because one time she remembers the priest who knows that she talked to Sister Kathy takes her inside his office and says, did you know that Sister Kathy's missing? Do you want to go see her? Thank you, Marple, for 20 months with Twitch Prime. And she says, yes, take me to see her. Takes her out into the woods to where Sister Kathy's dead body is and says to her, this is what happens when people say bad things. Like, she is sure that happened. And it's discredited because she said that she rubbed maggots off of Sister Kathy's face, and the police were like, she died in the winter, there's no way that she could have had maggots because maggots don't exist in the winter, they can't grow. But then the autopsy report specifically says she had maggots in her body when it was found. So maybe that part is true. It's very unbelievable, but could be true. That's the hardest part to swallow. Like, would someone really do that to scare someone into silence? Like, maybe, I don't know. The school he targeted was the one your 4-year-old niece went to? Good grief. The other scary part was that one of the people he would bring into the school to molest some of the kids was a police officer. And Jane Doe's father was also a police officer. And she recounted a time where this police officer, just prior to raping her, took out his gun, a revolver, and like very slowly just took out one bullet after the other and put them on the desk in front of them. And then put the gun against her head and said, if your father ever finds out what we're doing here, and then he pulled the trigger, he said, he'll do this, except he won't take the bullets out first. And again, that was just to terrify her into not saying anything. Sounds a little unbelievable. Like those are the two parts where it sounded a bit like, are you sure these parts are real memories? But the other thing she was talking about, just she had nothing to gain from being a liar. Let's put it that way. Thank you for the bits you have. Oh, we're talking about a Netflix documentary called The Keepers. This is a fucked up story. I know it is, right? It's bloody infuriating. It got me so angry. Oop. If it's any consolation, everyone involved is dead. Well, no, there's one person who may have had something to do with it, but they're not all there anymore. It sounds unbelievable just because of how despicably evil it is. But she does. She sounds like, you know, she believes it. But if it was just her story, I would understand why people would be like, "Are you sure?" But there's other people corroborating her story, so even if any particulars are being misremembered, the bad things still happened. Damn it, I thought I had one more point to talk about, but I can't remember what it is now. I got distracted by chat. Trying to remember now. No, I don't think that's what it was. But anyway, the long and short of it is, it's worth watching. It'll make you very angry and very, very sad, and there is some very uncomfortable scenes. I don't know if it's even right calling them scenes, considering it's just someone spilling their guts out. We'll probably do Risk of Rain at some point, yeah. I noticed that Generation Zero's brought out a big update just now, but it doesn't sound like it added anything. It just sounded like it was some quality of life fixes. It's a little disappointing. And while the Isaac intro was playing, I was reading the patch notes. It's called multitasking. Oops. No, never mind. But that's it. I don't need to talk about any documentaries on Netflix that have disturbing subject matters because I think I've watched them all. But definitely watch The Keepers, Staircase, Evil Genius, Making a Murderer. It's all real stuff that happened. Actually, I just thought of a Joker quote, and I thought of it because one of the new bits of scenery I got for my Batman miniature game has it written on the side of it. We stop looking for monsters under our bed when we realize they're inside us. It's very fitting. Oh, I'm not going to read about Supergirl. There's no time left to talk about Batman and such. Consider yourselves lucky, YouTube. Although, honestly, it was just what comics I got this week. This month, rather. One of them was Black Mirror Part 2. Already talked about Black Mirror in the past, it's very good. And then the other one was Batman Through Time or something like that. Hang on. Mid-fight. Time and the Batman. And it's part of like the Final Crisis big Justice League thing. It's a side story to that. Basically Bruce Wayne reliving his life while someone pretending to be Alfred is trying to like clone his brain. So that Darkseid can have an army of Batmen. There's a nice recap of every major Batman story up to that point. Other than that, meh. It's a solid meh. We do not feel like we're doing 9.17 damage, incidentally, especially with this DPS. For some reason, it just feels very weak. Jesus. We are still going to win, though. Why do we feel so weak? Well, either way, cash this one in, it's done. Thank you for watching, YouTube. See you next time. Hopefully talking about something more positive.